Hey, what's up? It's your boy BobbySapphire, and today we are going to talk about Set 3's best leader. Ability, that is. Check it out. Whoa, we're gonna have company! Is Anakin the best Set 3 leader? I don't know, that's debatable. Is his ability the best leader ability in Set 3? Also debatable. He's definitely a lot better than I originally gave him credit for, and I do think in a vacuum his leader is just the best blanket ability we can have. I think it's really close with Django. Django you need to build around a little bit more, but I will say like one of the things that makes Django so strong is that already had a deck shell that worked really well with what Django's bringing to the table. It just gets, you know, crazy efficient when you put Django into it. What Anakin does is allows us to create insurmountable board states. All right, I know you've seen this sequence before. We're playing Boba Fett. We drop a cartel spacer, tap down the Emperor's Royal Guard, swing in our Boba, kills it. We untap a resource. We drop a 7th Fleet Defender. Boom. Absolute board control. Or maybe you've been at the dealing or receiving end of this situation. K2, damaged. Red 3, Sabine ran all with Metal Ceremony following an ECL, and you've only got 10 HP left. These kinds of board states are why Boba and Sabine stayed at the top of the meta for so long. They're able to do things no other deck can. They create these board states that there's no coming back from, and you're already almost dead. What we want to do is find other decks that do this, right? Well, I think Anakin is finally the next iteration of decks that can create these board states because of his +2 attack ability. If you follow the K2OD at all, you probably know I played a ton of Rey in Set 2. The reason for this is because I really dislike blue and especially yellow heroic early drops. They're just so low power, they don't trade into anything, they don't kill anything. It's so easy for our opponent to kill our stuff and not die back. That's why we find ourselves in those situations that Boba and Sabine presented themselves in the earlier pictures. What I liked about Rey is that she could actually take these smaller units and make them trade up. We used Rey's ability to do this, to put experience tokens on little units like this, or some of these are newer, obviously. And then we also used Lightsaber to accelerate this process. Drop a Lightsaber on an early unit so that we can start hitting and killing other opposing units. This is the name of the game in Star Wars Unlimited. This is something I've been wanting to make a video about for a while, but it seems so simple and so intuitive that it's hard to find real reasons to dig in and give some depth to what I'm trying to say. But we want to find those board states that I outlined earlier where we have a bunch of guys and they don't. And we can only do that if our units trade into or value kill, which is kill their guy and our guy lives. If we can do those things to our opponent's units and create an insane board state, one that's insurmountable and that they can't come back from without a ton of removal, ambush, lots of things that not every deck has. Anakin takes what Rey does and he makes it faster, all in one action. He makes it stronger. He can do 2 ability, and it's not capped. Rey's ability is capped to units with 1 or 2 power, but Anakin can buff anyone at any cost, and it combines with things like Raid. So Red 3 can make things like Grogu swing for 3, and you haven't lived until you've killed a Battlefield Marine with a Grogu and had it live. Soldier of the 501st also swings in for 4 with Anakin. Battlefield Marine can take out something with 5 attack. These things are all exacerbated by Red 3, but what they do is they create those situations that I'm trying to highlight, where we have a bunch of units and they don't. Again, this seems super simple, but there's so many games of Star Wars Unlimited that get played where there's parity, or someone attacks face when they shouldn't. You know, maybe you've never heard of the article, Who's the Beatdown? If you haven't, you should check it out. It's an old Magic article, and Tower Number 9 wrote for the 5th Trooper Network about extrapolating that to Star Wars Unlimited. It's about figuring out when you should trade and when should you attack face. And like one deck that's really good at that is Sabine. We saw that in the first slide, right? With ECL and big units like Poe and Wrecker, they can get these kills on your opponent's base. They can even damage the opponent's base and leave a ton of bodies behind and buff them with Metal Ceremony. It's one of the things that makes that deck so strong. And it's one of the things that makes Anakin so strong. He can do this all while keeping our units on the table and powering up his later ability by damaging our own base. This board state is an extremely common Anakin yellow board state. We start with Grogu. He's a 0/5. He's not going to do any damage back to anyone when they attack him, but he's really hard to kill in one swing. We drop Red 3. We are swinging for 3 now. That can kill most opposing 2-drops. Then we drop Kira. We brick their next play. We're sitting on a Hotshot Blaster on our resource row. We've got Plo Koon, a Surprise Strike, and a Guerrilla Attack Pod ready to come out whenever Anakin's ready to flip and end the game. This thing happens all the time because we put units on the board early that don't die back. They trade up or they value kill, and we build out our board, building a control style, like sort of a soft unit control, creature control deck where we have these board states and we're ready to flip the corner because our opponent has no board and we've got 3 units on the board and a handful of gas. All right, I mentioned value killing. Value killing with Anakin is the idea of having a unit that will kill an opposing unit but won't die back. Things like Val and R2 are really good at this because of their 4 booty, and then Crafty Smuggler L3 also really good at this because they come into play shielded, so just the shield soaks all the damage. I threw Bo-Katan in there because I wanted to give Mono Red a little love. You know, I don't know if she's value killing anybody, but she's good, and I love Bo-Katan, so I wanted to shout her out. What's even juicier, though, is trading up with Anakin's ability. Trading up is the concept that we use a low-cost unit to kill something that costs more than it. And we can do this with these little guys. They can also value kill and then trade up because they lived the first time, creating veritable 2-for-1s. Because these guys can kill with their power 3 drops and sometimes even 4 drops, we're getting tons of value. We can make this even stronger with Red 3 with some of these units. Obviously not all the units on this slide, but Red 3 is so strong in this deck that I actually even built a fully Rebel version of Anakin where like you just play all the early Rebel units, sort of a la a Sabine, buff with Wing Leader, and then drop Red 3, and these things are trading up with leaders at this point. And things like R2 and C-3PO can set your draws. The Wing Leader on the second turn of the game, buffing one of your first plays, allows it to value kill something for sure with Anakin's ability. I mean, we're talking about attacking for 5 and 6 in some situations. But then being able to use a Wing Leader to trade with something in space is also really strong because we can give that thing 4 attack if we have initiative before the next turn, and absolutely create some sort of parity in space while we have a huge unit on the ground. As I said earlier, though, Anakin's ability isn't capped, so we can trade up all the way down the line and find units that are overstatted, like Jesse, like Kanan, like Cassian in a way, and use them to trade into crazy units. Like Cassian can kill a Sabine. Jesse can kill Quinlan Voss because he hits for 7 with his raid and Anakin's attack. Kanan can now kill Poe and other 6 attack guys, 6 defense guys, like Plo Koon or other 6 HP leaders. The trading up in this deck is nuts, and what trading up allows us to do is when we trade up with a lower cost unit, that means our equal cost unit, our 5 drops, live. Because, you know, our opponents generally don't have something that can trade into us. If we follow up our Kanan with a Poe and we've killed our opponent's Poe, we should be able to attack with our Poe, or, as we know, Poe players, our opponent has to absolutely deal with Poe, which just leaves us absolutely free to do whatever we need to do the following turn. There are 2 builds of Anakin I'm really loving right now, and the first one is yellow, built with Cunning. I love that they added Plo Koon to our Force ability units. That allows us to really lean into Force Throw with Grogu and Ezra. As I said earlier, Grogu, he lives through the first turn very easily. Even if we have initiative and we can't or don't want to trade up, we can just exhaust their unit and Force Throw something. Ezra really good for letting us draw cards off the top of our deck, and we get this whole hand destruction discard package that goes with Force Throw too. We got K2, Spark, and Kira. So I really love this package. It allows us to get really sort of like aggro tempo at the beginning of the game and create that board state that I outlined earlier in the video, and, you know, be able to flip our Anakin and swing to victory very quickly. And I really love Blue Anakin. Blue Anakin is a completely different animal, and it's one that I've tried a ton of different versions of. If you're a KTOD subscriber, you know I have 4 different Anakin Blue builds right now. The Rebel one, the Control one that's a little more aggro with his ability with Jesse, and then one that's kind of like an all-around, just use the Sentinels, play a normal red-blue deck. What Anakin Blue brings to the table are the Sentinels, the event removal, which, you know, with Takedown, Fell the Dragon, Rivals Falls, Vanquish, very good right now. Perilous Pursuit, Perilous Position, also really good. But we get bombs like Luke, Chewie, the Redemption, and we get Jedi Lightsaber with all our Force units, which, especially on Anakin, is just an absolute monster. Anakin can use Jedi Lightsaber to -2/-2 someone, and his Overwhelm becomes even more potent. And then if you use the -2/-2 to kill a unit in this game, you get the full effect of his damage, his overflow. So the -2/-2 kills like a Greedo or something, and you hit for the full 12. It's absolutely cracked, and it's one of the things that makes the Anakin blue deck not only really fun, but really strong and have a much more robust late game than the yellow version. People say, Bobby, why not green? Why not red? Well, there are a couple reasons. I think if we want to go the general grade, the General's Blade Home 1 route, Quinlan Voss, just a much better Jedi. He comes out earlier. You can ramp into him with resupply, get that General's Blade online a lot faster, and he's harder to kill when 7 HP comes out early in the game. Shout out to my boy Boba Fett. And then if we want to go with ECL and like Poe and Wrecker, I think Sabine and Han just do it better. Like Sabine does it the best. Han does it much better as well. One of the things that, and then Han also for mono red, I don't know what those cards are that they gave us. They absolutely don't care about mono red if they're giving us Mr. Bones twice the whatever and unlimited power. But the thing that makes mono red good for Han, and he's like the only one I think that can really do it in heroic, is because he lets you drop Poe early. He lets you drop Crate Dragon early. He lets you drop a Gorilla Attack Pod early. So I think that we're finally at the point with 54 whatever leaders that now we can build decks and find the leader that best fits the deck. It's not like it was in set 1 and 2 when it was like, all right, I'm just going to play 50 of the best cards and I'm going to slap Boba Fett on it. Now we build around the strategies we want to make and we find the best leader for them. And I just don't think Anakin is the best leader. I also think people are like, in general, way too list and leader obsessed, and they should just focus on how to win the game and finding the best ways to do that. And that doesn't mean like cramming one deck into an Anakin shell. It's finding the right leader for your list. All of that is only half of what makes Anakin insane. His leader unit ability is crazy. First of all, he has Overwhelm. Second of all, have you ever swung for 24 in one turn with one guy? I have. Upgrades are great in this game, and Hotshot DL44 Blaster and Jedi Lightsaber are two of the best, and we get to play those on Anakin Skywalker, a 4/7 Overwhelm unit that buffs himself. These cards make him super strong and allow that Overwhelm attack to get in and hit for tons of damage. And because we're already creating those board states that I talked about earlier, it only takes 1 or 2 Anakin swings for us to win the game. What I also love about Anakin is that finally we have a leader who lets us use our life total as a resource. This is such an important attribute to have as a player in other card games. You've probably, if you've played Yu-Gi-Oh, you know that like as long as you have 100 life or whatever, or 1 hit point left, you can win the game. There's no scaling of your life in our game. We don't get weaker as we get more damage like other games. In this, we can go to 29, have a 9 attack Anakin, suit him up with a lightsaber or a DL44, and hit the base for a ton of damage. I was going to say million because it feels like that sometimes. But then the other thing that's totally cracked about this is Bravado. With a 12 attack Anakin, and that -2/-2 thing that I told you about with Greedo, we can swing for 24 in a turn with Bravado, maybe even more, to be honest, because if we kill something the first time and we have 2 Bravados in hand, the sky's the limit. And God forbid if they ever have that 24-point base. Like, this thing ends the game so fast, and Bravado, if you can ever get your opponent to tap out with all these actions that we can take with an extensive board, we can end the game a whole turn sooner than our opponent's expecting. It's absolutely nuts. For these reasons, the attack buffs on the leader side, the insane attack and overwhelm damage on the leader unit side, Anakin is absolutely one of the best leaders in set 3. Is he the best? Time will tell. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Did I convince anybody at all? Is he the best leader? I don't know. I'm probably still going to play Django this weekend, but you never know. I'm going to absolutely play Anakin at my local, but I really think he's insane. I hope other people believe in it too. I know like a lot of people put him pretty high on the leader tier list. We didn't see a ton of him at the SCG this past weekend, but I guess he showed up Sunday. I'm recording on Sunday, so I think he got some top 8s on the Sunday event. We're about to see how that ends up, and we'll see what is in store for the rest of set 3 before we get to PQ season. All right, leave a note in the comments if you agree, disagree, or want to tell me to go pound sand. Later, everybody. Thanks for watching.